what are three major tiers of financial security that everyone needs to to strive for? What are three tiers?
This post went viral, and every time I post it, it usually does. But the first level of security that you want to get to is $100,000 invested in the market. Now, I've always said that you won't feel safe until you get to a minimum $100,000 to $600,000 invested. I know that number scares some people, but our job on the show is to tell you the truth, even if it's a scary thing to hear. 100,000. Here's a quick exercise. Multiply what your bills are now times the next 5 years, and let me know how much money in chat you would need if a disaster happens to not work for the next 5 years. So 100,000 is level one. From the people that I've talked to that are doing really well, the second tier that you want to get to is like a level of like financial peace. That's the $10 million mark. So I know some people are like, hey, I don't have it. I don't know how I'm going to get there, but one thing I would like to do maybe at the London and Chicago shows is to build out a blueprint for how to get you guys to maybe 5 million to 10 million. Trading has considerable risk. Just because we give you a plan, it does not mean that it's a guaranteed way to do so. Please clip this up. Mike, please put the disclaimer at the bottom. And then that third tier, I've said this before, the number of true wealth, true freedom is $28 million to $30 million. So I know there's a lot of conversation around how much money is needed. And I know I even get some pushback every time I make this post, but imagine if for the next 5 years, we have inflation run like this for the next 5 years, 100,000 isn't what it used to be even 10 years ago, let alone 25. And yes, it's scary to hear these numbers. I'm not doing it as number porn or fear porn, but I have to give you the real number. So write this down, 100,000, 10 million is the second tier. 28 to 30 is like the final tier where you can take care of you, your family, others. And if you don't think this is true, why do you think all these artists are selling their catalogs at these rates for this kind of money? Athletes are signing the contracts that they are signing for. Some Supermax deals are now 300 million. If 20 million or 5 million was enough, they will sell it there. It's not. And what can we do to help you to get to the $100,000 mark faster if you're not there? So I know this post always gets a lot of pushback. This conversation gets a lot of pushback, but these are the real numbers that need to be hit to take care of your family. Yes, I'm sure you can go in Idaho somewhere and live off whatever amount of money per year. But if you live in New York, Texas, everyone from California is moving to Texas, Jersey, Florida, it's really tough to get by. I saw the report. You guys even posted it. Like 100 grand feels like what, 32,000 in New York City?
Yeah, 36. 100,000 is equivalent to 36,000 in New York City. That's where it goes the lowest, and where it stretches the highest is Memphis, Tennessee, and it's equivalent to $86,000. And that was taken into local taxes, local inflation, transportation, housing is the biggest expense, and they see how much of 100,000 is really equal to as far as your buying, paying, spending power.
It's interesting. You wrote those numbers in the post. I kind of took the question and kind of flipped it, like from a practical standpoint. Like I did the levels in terms of like things that people can practically have outside of numbers, right? So I broke it down into financial stability being a level, like that's a tier, right? Having and being confident enough with your financial situation, having enough money to pay your bills, having little to no debt, and then having liquid assets, right? So that's a tier, right? People can obtain that type of tier. And then having 6 months saved. I added that because I know Shadi always says that. He always says you want to have at least 6 months, if not optimally 12 months saved.
Yeah, I think we need 12 given what they're doing with inflation.
So that's financial stability. I think another tier is financial security, and that's having investments and assets generate passive income enough to cover your basic expenses, right? And so you go from stability and now you have security. I think another tier, and these are like, again, practical ways, is financial freedom, right? And most people are like, oh, that's the goal I want to get to. And so I kind of defined it like having enough passive and residual. So passive meaning that you have money coming in, and residual meaning continuously coming in to cover living expenses so that you can spend time doing the things that you want to do and love doing rather than doing things to make money, right? And so there's three tiers there. There's financial stability, there's financial security, and then there's financial freedom. And then the last piece, and a shout out to my brother Ash Cass, is financial abundance, right? And most people, that's like having enough now,
that's the goal.
Having all of those things, but also having the philanthropic part of it. Now you've accumulated from residual and passive, and now you have actual money to now give back to others. And so like when we look at it in tiers, and it's interesting, like, because I saw the post that you put up, I was like, let's attack it a little differently. It's like from a practical standpoint, like, how long will it take for me to get to this tier, right? I made it to this tier. How do I get here? How do I get here? Rather than putting a number to it, because I feel like they're like, well, how am I gonna get to 100,000? Well, let's figure out, because it doesn't even matter the amount. It's like, are you in this tier? Like, are you financially stable right now? Some people might be, right? They may make 100,000. It's like, I'm financially stable because I have enough to make my living expenses. So that was just, it's interesting. You went that way. I just went another route for other people too.
I take it you were a teacher in the past life, right? And I want to say this too for the entrepreneurs: the dangerous tier to be in is like that 500,000 to $1 million space, because you have cushion, but you don't have enough safety. Like 2 bad years, 2 bad product cycles, 1 PR disaster, you can be knocked down really fast. So I know there seems to be like exponential leaps and bounds in those tiers, but there's a reason why. Even like for 20 years, it was like, hey, 3 to 6 months savings was okay. And then COVID through now hit. And now I know some people that have been living off of savings or supplementing savings for 2 years. You probably need 5 or 6 times the amount of money than whatever baseline number they normally give you.
And also, put a post up today that got a lot of traction as far as the U.S. medium income level. The source is the U.S. Census Bureau. So don't argue with me. Argue with the Census
Pretty
Bureau.
Good source.
But all households together, 70,000. Married households, 106,000. That's interesting. A healthy marriage is a wealth hack. Obviously, for obvious reasons, right? But 2 incomes, it's not only beneficial, it's beneficial financially. We can have a different conversation about that. But 20 to 24, 51,000, 25 to 34, 74,000, 35 to 44, 90,000, 45 to 54, 97,000, 54 to 64, 75,000, 65 and up, 47,000. So this is interesting to me on a few different levels. The highest earning potential that you have is from 45 to 54. That's interesting because most people that tune in and watch us and consume our content is between 24 and 44. So you haven't even reached your full potential yet.
Your peak yet. Yeah.
That's encouraging. But also you see how it goes up and it comes back down. By 65, people making 47,000, obviously, because that's they're retired and they're just living off of there. So you have to figure out a way to continue to make money, even because 65 not really that old these days. So it's like you don't want to be, just relying off of your kids to take care of you when you become 65 years old. It also speaks to the income inequality from Black and white people, because a lot of people, like in the comments, they were surprised at these numbers, and it seems like a lot of money to a lot of different people. But that's because most people hang around people similar to themselves. So you don't even realize the wealth gap. And I realized that when I was a financial advisor, because I used to, be around so many different people, and they're like, yeah, my client, they're like, just have somebody just invest $100,000. And I'm thinking in my brain, I don't even know anybody that has $100,000.
Yeah, they say like it's $1,000.
Yeah, but it was so common. But it's so common in a lot of different areas from a lot of different people, right? But it's like most people hang around people similar to themselves. So you hang around people similar to yourselves, you don't realize that 2 miles down the road, those houses are 5 times more than your house, or those people have $2 million in your retirement account and you have nothing. So it's kind of hard to really even appreciate it if you're not fully exposed to what other people are experiencing. So it's a very, involved conversation, but it's interesting to see what people gauge as wealth, what people gauge as success, what people look at as far as, having an income that they can live off of as opposed to other people. So these are important conversations to have, because exposure, very important.
Absolutely. And if you're not there yet, I would definitely advise you put in chat a business idea that you have. that will allow you to get to that number. We all have built businesses to get there, then invested the capital from the business into public equities and stocks. If you're not there yet, you almost are at an advantage because you have a dream. You have the ability to dream to get there faster. Put in the comments what are some businesses that you can start if you're not there yet to help you get there by next year.
My graduates from my school being Forbes, bag drop.
Bag drop.
A mic drop, bag drop.
Bag drop.